What's up, A to Z Sports Live on a Monday, another winless Monday for the Titans as they drop to 1-6 with the old guy coming back to town and putting a big old spanking on the two-tone blue in Nissan Stadium. Patriots and Mike Vrabel 31, Titans 13. They got off to a quick start with the Mike McCoy interim coach era with Cam Ward tossing a 38-yard touchdown to Chim Dike, rookie to rookie. Things were looking pretty good in that first half until they weren't, when Drake May threw a couple touchdown passes in the second quarter. More Patriots touchdowns on offense in the third quarter, and then Cam Ward for the second week in a row just fumbling the football out of his hand, and that led into the final touchdown for the Patriots. That was the final score, but we got a lot to talk through. Zach, you are back here on this Monday show, which we're approaching 1 full week since Brian Callahan was fired. It'll be this afternoon. Is the 1 week mark, which means you have not had a chance to react or respond or do anything publicly to the Brian Callahan firing. And so we'll do that, and we'll talk about this franchise as a whole. There was a couple comments that I saw in the YouTube waiting room before we went live that are lining up with how this show will start. And then we'll discuss that. We'll talk about Cam Ward. We'll revisit the conversation we had from last Monday about Cam Ward. See where everybody's at on Cam Ward, because the public heat is up on the Titans rookie quarterback. If you look at our post-game show chat or anything on social media, any radio calls you hear today, a lot of anti-Cam Ward stuff is making its way to the top. Zach, what's up? Welcome in. Let's get this thing rocking and rolling.
Yeah, got a lot to unpack, a lot to get to, and curious to get the full temperature of the chat as kind of maneuvering through this season now, which is tough, from the coaches' firings to Mike Vrabel's return. So we'll dive into all of that. And we are broadcasting live on 3 different platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Make sure you're locked in. We will tweet out link by link, segment by segment on our Twitter timeline at A to Z Sports. Follow us there. If you want the full scope of the NFL and you're tired of watching the Titans, you can follow us at A to Z Sports NFL. We do coverage across the league wide, so lock in there. And as mentioned, we will tweet out segment by segment. Best way to get in tuned and watch these live shows is subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go to YouTube, click A to Z Sports Nashville. You can search that, click the subscribe button, and then make sure you get the live alerts. That means you get alerted when we go live, when new content is put out. It's the best way there on YouTube to subscribe, live alerts, and then you can like this show. That helps the algorithm get more Titans fans, maybe Patriots fans, maybe Vrabel fans, who knows, into this show on a Monday morning after another loss by the Titans. We're also broadcasting live on Facebook, bottom left corner of your screen. Share now to public. Sharing is caring, and caring is sharing, as we say on this show. So share the show around when you pop up in your Facebook friends timeline. And man, another loss, another day, another Sunday. Let's dive into it on this Monday morning. Not a victory Monday. Far from that. And some new faces. So here we go.
That's right. Welcome into A to Z Sports here live on a Monday. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham. We're Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time. We are powered by BTA Sports app, where I went 1-0 on BTA Sports yesterday. That's better than the Titans have done. But you can also follow all of our show tweets, link segment by segment on our Twitter feed. That's at A to Z Sports. On Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans coverage. If you will, give us a 5-star Google review. That goes a long way for our company as a whole. Got to thank our sponsors and make it happen for us, and they help out all of you. Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process in Lebanon at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care, boneandjointtn.org. Barton Drury Insurance Group, customized solutions for all of your insurance needs, local and online at bartondrury.com. Botero Carts, life is short, buy a golf cart, 2 locations for you in Columbia and Gallatin. And Window Nation, buy 2 windows, you get 2 windows for free and no payments needed for 2 years. Get that free estimate at windownation.com. So Zach, 31-13, the final score. The Patriots go on a 28-3 run to end the game after the Titans went up 10-3 on the Chim Dike touchdown from Cam Ward. It was going well until it wasn't. The Brian Callahan era was over. Mike McCoy era started off fresh. There was some energy. There was some juice. but we're approaching 1 full week since Brian Callahan was fired. So before we dive into where is this franchise, hear from Mike McCoy, hear from Cam Ward on some of his issues, and discuss the rookie overall pick, number 1 overall pick. What's your thoughts here 1 week after Brian Callahan was fired in season on that status of the decision?
Yeah, I'll touch on the Callahan. You brought something up, though, of yesterday's game. The singular moment that everything started to tank was the kick out of bounds.
Yeah.
Once that happened, you can look at the stat sheet. Everything started to crumble. So it's like a team that makes that one mistake. They've been playing okay, playing good, and then just boom, snowball effect over and over and over again. The Patriots go down and score before half. They score after half, and the rest is history, 31-13. So tough. And I thought Vrabel, we'll dive into that a little bit more, handled himself. He knew what was going on internally. And, I think the Patriots were the better team yesterday before and after the game. On Brian Callahan, man, so I want to visit something because this is by far I'm not on the show enough to do a victory lap in this sense, but on this show, we do this show and have done this show for years. And you say a ton of different takes and crazy things that you predict. Some we get right, some we get wrong. Myself, you, Easton, JT, we'll all say that. We've got some victory lap people in the comments, right? You get it right, you get it wrong. But on the second show that I was back, there was one thing said that I didn't think you should say, which was about Brian Callahan. Now, I want to dive into the reason behind that. I think that's more important than the actual take. But I saved this directly after the show and this was however many weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, because I just had this feeling that this was not, you shouldn't have done this. And that was, you believed that Callahan was not going to get fired. So I'm going to play this clip, but it's more about why you thought the way that you did.
Brian Callahan's not getting fired this year. Sticking my neck out for it.
I'd put your net back in and roll the window up. That's
fine. I mean, if you want to take
I'm not saying he is, but I'm definitely not putting my neck out there and saying
I'm doing
this is a guarantee.
I'll tell you this. If you want to go to your whatever sports book of your choice and whatever the odds are for Brian Callahan to get fired, you can waste money there if you want to place that bet.
Money would have been wasted.
No, it might have been one.
The key is why you thought the way you did. And one of your philosophies or reasons, because they told us, they being ownership, they being the front office, they said that Brian Callahan was their guy. And unfortunately, you took that bait. But that's what it was. It was bait. And the learning lesson of this is you can't trust they. They will do crazy things, especially when it comes to American football. And I would say football, international football too, because crazy things happen there in sports in general. But this thing was destined to be this way because they had a very bad team. Now, could Brian Callahan got off to a better start and probably saved his job? Maybe, but their team was so bad and no one knew how to win. Brian Callahan didn't know how to win. Cam Ward had never played a game in the NFL to know how to win. They didn't have any wide receivers that have really won. Calvin Ridley's played for the Jags and the Falcons, not just this unbelievable. And he's a good piece of this puzzle that his hamstrings hurt. Jeffrey Simmons has seen winning, but there wasn't enough pieces. And what happened? Impatience. Now, I think it was, justified impatience, but that's why you can't trust. And I think this is my overall theme. Don't trust what they say. They will lie to you. They will tell you one thing and do another. When emotion happens and the Titans got off to such a bad start and the game they won, we all know they shouldn't have won. The Cardinals fumbled that right towards them, right? Now they took advantage, credit to them, but don't listen to what they say. And now you're back to ground zero. You may not even gotten to ground zero. I think we're going to discuss that. Where is ground zero? but don't believe what the front office tells you, or Chad Brinker or Borgonzi. They have their internal feelings, and then they have their feelings that they express to the media. Those are not the same.
Well, I do think their internal feelings were that they did not want that Brinker and Borgonzi did not want to fire Brian Callahan last Monday. And I also did say in the clip, I've got the clip of before, then people watch the show regularly know that I brought it up several times, that it would take an unmitigated disaster for Brian Callahan to get fired this year. And I think you can say the first 6 games of the year showed a lot of unmitigated disaster. There was just mistakes up and down the play sheet.
That's how coaches gets fired.
No,
coaches get fired by losing games. James Franklin, you would have never said James Franklin would have gotten fired at the beginning of the year when Penn State was number 2 team in the country. Sure. Games being lost got him fired. So, yes, of course.
Okay, but I was going somewhere with that. I was going somewhere because DeMario says they said this would take time. This does not make me trust the front office. And so, they did like this in the entire 8-9 months before kickoff happened in Denver. The whole messaging behind, we talked to Burke Nighthill the week before, right after roster cut day at the Titans captain's dinner, right? We had a long stand-up conversation chatting with him about it's going to take time. They know where they're at. They understand where they're at. They have to be patient with this. They spent the 52nd overall draft pick on a 2 to 3 year project in Femi Oladipo. They drafted a guy in the 3rd round coming off a torn ACL. They drafted 3 guys in the 4th round who were pass catchers that they knew had good upside. Cam Ward is a project quarterback. We'll talk more about him. But the whole idea of this last 9 months was to take time, was to get ready for 2027, not even 2026. And so it was the coach that failed him. The coach is the one that can get the blame. Brian Callahan deserved to be fired. I think everybody can understand that. Did it help? Did it matter? Does it matter? They got 10 more games left of this mess. And you have to try to hold this thing together to see if you can find progress within the margins, right? And so it is an absolute mess. It is an unmitigated disaster. We can all believe that. And are they going to be on the correct path for 2027? Is Cam Ward still going to be, is he going to be able to prove that he can be the guy moving forward? There's so many other questions. What's the core around this team? Because there are some good young players that you can look at, but nobody's happy with that right now.
No, the key though is what they say. That's the hard part for fans. And that's what fans are going through currently. And you got on the sense of they said. That also loses trust. You lose trust in the team that you pay to root for. And fans pay to root for this team. They spend their hard-earned dollar on merchandise and tickets and concessions and all the other in between. And when they say, they being either it's the ownership, or it's the president of operations, or it's the general manager, or it's the head coach, or it's the offensive coordinator, or it's the quarterback coach that gets elevated, or it's the quarterback, or it's the leader. When they say something, that's all fans have. And now over time, yes. But also what I'm saying is the resume going into this year should have told everyone that everything is on the table. Nothing is locked in. Right. And that, I think, is the key that this franchise has to work on. They have to get better at earning trust to who pays their bills. The NFL overall pays their bill, but directly how you make more money is grooming more Titans fans as young adolescents to go into grown men and women to spend their disposable income.
All right, so there's some comments. We have a lot to get to. This we've got plenty of content for this show. But Anthony says Zach is saying what I've been saying to Easton for a year. You got. You believe the words that mean nothing, but you continue to justify awful actions. So I want to say, all right, Anthony. Easton Freeze is our Tennessee Titans reporter, whose job it is to talk to people inside the building, find out what they're thinking, and report on what they're saying. Right. So. What do you want Easton to do?
Yeah, that's not on Easton. The point is who is saying, who are we listening to?
So
you guys are listening to Easton through
who is all these, anybody who covers
the others that are
talking as a reporter, right? This is not the reporter's fault, right? It's not, honestly, it's not Chad Brinker and Mike Borgonzi's fault. because they are saying one thing. No, it's not. It's not their fault. It's not their fault. It's Amy's fault.
It is.
No, it is Amy Armstrong's fault. Zach, it's Amy's fault.
They all have accountability because and let me tell you why though, Austin. No. Let me tell you why. Because Brinker has his own status within the company. Mike Borgonzi has his own status within the company, and Brian Callahan had his own status within the company. You talk about we're going to build this the right way. That's longevity. That's job security. So there is blame. You take all of those draft picks that you mentioned. You're absolutely right. Those were prospects. There's strategy to that, right?
Yes.
Brian Callahan didn't have his hand in that, or did he? But it's collaboration. Did the head coach have any say in who these players were being picked?
Of course
How did it work, right?
All right. So if you give me a second, okay, because here's why it's Amy Armstrong's fault. Because when she decided to not fire Brian Callahan alongside Rand Carthon in January, and they went and said, here's the restructure. Chad's up top of football operations. He's got a president title by his name. Then he's going to have a GM underneath him, and they've got assistant GMs underneath him. Then there's the head coach, right? And so you've got that. And all of those people, you've got Brinker, Borgonzi, Ziegler, McKenzie, Brian Callahan. There's 5 people that are running football operations day to day, from a president of operations through the GMs and the head coach. And they are all collectively drafting players and putting a strategy together. And they say, patience over panic. That was the line, the 3 words, patience over panic, all offseason. Finney's going to be good in year 2 and year 3. Winston's going to be a badass in year 2 and year 3 because he's coming off the injury, be a first-round talent if he wasn't hurt. All these things, right? And all it takes is for Amy, who signed off on the idea in January, to mess it all up by pushing a big fat red button from Houston. She's not even there. And so it is her fault because she blew it up because she gets embarrassed. That's why it's only Amy's
disagree with the
fault.
embarrassment thing. Well, Titans fans are embarrassed.
That's why it's Amy's fault. And
Titans fans are embarrassed as well.
Yes, absolutely. I thought firing Brian Callahan would give Amy some good equity from the fan base. I think it backfired because of how she did it. Because now all last week, the national perspective, everything that was written about Brian Callahan getting fired last week was about how dysfunctional it is from the top. So
what would you have done? So this opens up the door. What would you have done if you were Amy in the current situation prior to the firing?
All right, I will tell you that in a second, but first tell me about Barton Jury Insurance Group.
Yeah, Barton Jury Insurance is where you need to go get your insurance. I have my personal insurance. Our company has our insurance from Barton Jury. Cover risk, empower confidence. 615-806-1265. You can give them a call today, and they're authentic. That's the big part. They do so many different things that can help you. Again, whether it's personal auto or home or renter's insurance, 401k, health insurance, they can facilitate it all. And that's very valuable. We have to have insurance. That's the life that we live. But you want a company that will actually answer a phone, not just go into a chat bot and have some AI nobody answer questions that they're not real. Barton Drury Insurance Group is real, and they've got you covered on all different fronts. Make sure you check them out locally here to Middle Tennessee, 615-806-1265.
Also, BTA Sports, you can download the BTA Sports app to help yourself out with your sports bets, make you better for bettors. They're trying to help us win against the books in Vegas, and they did that yesterday. JT went 1-0. He said Gunnar Helm over 18.5 yards from BTA's projections. That was a 68% chance of hitting. Bang, cash it. You also got my pick. I said under 44.5. Woo! The hook. We won because of the hook. It counts. And that was a 58% chance to win that one. So BTA Sports, you can download the app, use the link in the Facebook title, the YouTube description, and the code ATOZ14 for a 14-day free trial with BTA Sports right there. So Zach, you asked me, what would I have done if I were Amy pre-firing? Is that the correct question? Okay. I would have waited until I would have preferred to wait until the end of the season, because I don't think Mike McCoy is changing anything. I think the only reason to fire a coach in season is if the locker room is deteriorating because that coach is still there. And that was not what was happening this year with the Titans. Right?
Okay, let me say something
or Cam Ward's getting ruined to a fast downward slope. And I don't think that was happening either.
That's fair. I'll say 2 things. I think a big opening was Jeffrey Simmons after the Raiders game saying that they had a bad week of practice, which they did. Now looking back on it and getting the reports of that week of practice, that was a public look. Tua has said something stupid every single week about something that internal that he speaks externally. That was Jeffrey Simmons probably being honest about that situation. I don't believe, and I will sit there and I will tell them, I do not believe that Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker and Amy Adams Strunk did not hear those comments. They were asked and they said that they didn't hear them. Mike Borgonzi said I think that's a lie, to be honest. I think that he did hear them say that. But that hurts.
Bad practices happen.
No. It goes to the overall theme. You are talking to the media and the public, and honesty is key, but they continue to lie. Because patience over panic, well, that's not what they're doing. Their actions don't align with what they're saying publicly. And I think the reason that was their opening is that maybe Brian Callahan doesn't have full control over this situation, and that fired him. So you said end of the season, if you could get there, you probably are not going to be able to get there though, right?
Right. Yeah, for sure.
So you're saying down the line, this was too early in your opinion.
The bye week is a few more weeks away. It's November 9th. Maybe you fire him after you get beat. It would be 3 more games, right? Patriots at Colts, home versus the Chargers. Then you have a bye week because we have 10 more interim coach games. That is forever. Because now when something like this happens, it is a checkpoint, a check back for data later moment in the season. Like, where does this locker room actually start to give up? When do they start to think about next year? Or my contract situation has no guaranteed money left. I could be cut. What's my situation like? Coaches who know that they're on their way out start to set up, next. This has happened with every team that has a fired head coach in season. Like, go look at the college game. Like, transfer portal guys are like, you know what? Let's look for other opportunities. Coaches are trying to find their next spot here but they got 5 games left in the college game. They got 10. It's crazy. And so
you're saying get to 1-8 at the bye week.
If you have to make a move in season, then try to fight your way through the bye week if you possibly can.
That's why Billy Napier got fired. They got a bye. He was asked after the game. He knew he had a bye, and that's why he just won. They just beat
Billy
Mississippi
Napier
State,
got the.
but
Jimbo
there was
Fisher,
a bye.
Same thing. Jimbo Fisher got fired before bye week after beating Mississippi State. So
I'm saying this, Austin, because I don't agree with. I don't disagree with that assessment. I think that actually makes sense to get to the bye, but we go back to that one word, emotion, and I think embarrassment and cause and Vrabel and circumstance. There were reports that there were people in and around the ownership group in Las Vegas, and that was an embarrassing
big contingent. Yes.
That was an embarrassing performance.
Mm-hmm.
So
watching their quarterback have 3 turnovers.
And I also think that they heard Jeffrey Simmons say, their leader, the guy that gets paid the big bucks, and he was missing yesterday, and you saw that in the second half because of a hamstring. I think that was the opening to say, well, you can't have bad weeks of practice and expect to perform, right? That's the coach's job, as we all know, is to have good weeks of practice. Now, this goes into our next topic, which is, well, that's what they start. And this is why I wanted to connect the dots, because I do think Jeffrey Simmons in the locker room, I don't know if we have that clip, but Jeffrey Simmons in the locker room saying that they had a bad week of practice. What was the theme of this game, which I think was hilarious? Bad week of practice after the Raiders. All right, you're fired. New coach comes in. And what were they screaming? The complete and utter opposite. Yeah, I think that there's something there.
Let's hear Mike McCoy talking about this past week.
He talked about a lot in the week leading up here. How do you, as the interim coach, hold guys accountable?
Well, after every game, I'll say this: our entire organization this week was phenomenal. The entire organization. Everyone came in. We rallied around each other. We had a great week. Thank you for all your help this week. You were awesome. But I think everybody in the organization, top down, they were unbelievable. And I think the week of practice we had was phenomenal. So, I mean, they did a great job. So it's just a matter of we got to find a way to play better. And, you know, we're always going to, you talk about the accountability part is regardless of what the scores of the game, doesn't matter what it is, practice, games, we're going to watch the tape and we're going to be critical. We're coaches. We're going to coach. We're going to coach extremely hard. And that's the way it's going to be. No one's trying to make a mistake. No player is out there trying to make a mistake. But we also have to coach them and talk about the little things, the fine little details that it takes to get over this hump. You know, so whether it's footwork, whatever it is. And it's, as coaches too, we've got to look at ourselves too and say, how do we help the players? Because it's all about the players. It's always going to be about the players. So we got to do whatever we can to put our players in a position to succeed, and they got to go out and execute.
The end of that clip wasn't bad. The beginning of it was a joke. I mean, like, I feel like that guy is a summer camp director. Mike McCoy leads a summer camp.
You can't tell me how phenomenal. Don't use the word phenomenal when you just got your ass kicked 31-13.
Yeah.
Just use a different word. You can't use phenomenal. The whole organization was phenomenal, but that's why I say that's
a different P word, productive. You can say you had a productive week through a lot of chaos, a lot of adversity, but it was a productive week and it failed. It still ended in getting your ass kicked by 18.
But I say all that because I found it very telling of what Jeffrey Simmons said in the locker room about the week of practice. Coach gets fired, team loses again, and then that is the script. That's what you're telling us. Now, again, you can have a good week of practice. I'm not denying that happened, but don't talk it up like you won the game. Like having a good week of practice is comparable to winning because you lost 13-31 and you didn't do anything in the second half. I want to go back because I do this every game that I care about. I go to the play-by-play section, drive by drive. It can tell you the script of the game very, very easily. And as we talked about in the beginning, when they kicked the ball out of bounds and the Patriots got it at the 40 and they were down 10-13, the Patriots were, Patriots go down and score a touchdown. After that, here is what the Tennessee Titans did. Downs to end the, and they didn't even try. I don't want to even get into the end of
the wind was too strong, Zach.
Strong wind, downs. Okay. So they go into the locker room down 17-13. Patriots come out and score a touchdown, 12 play, 88 yards. So now all of a sudden they're down 31-13. The Titans 24. Fumble, they punt, there's downs, and then they end the game on an interception. So from there, that week of practice did not help you from the last drive of the first half to a single drive in the second half. So that's my issue with, like, I know what the Titans need, and I will just sit here and tell you this because we're on coaching. We're going to talk about Cam Ward and get some more interaction in on the chat because I do think Cam Ward is a huge part of this. They need, and this is the hard part, Mike Vrabel getting showered with cheers and chants after he comes back in his return tells you everything of what the franchise needs. What they had, Vrabel lost a lot of games at the end of his Titans coaching career, so you cannot avoid that. That it was what it was. But what Mike Vrabel maintained is he had the identity. He was the torch bearer. He would stand up and be the face of the franchise. There is not a face. No one knows who the hell Mike Borgonzi is. No one knows who Chad Brinker is. Chad Brinker stands up and represents Amy when she doesn't want to come stand in front of the media. No one gives an F about Chad Brinker. They need a figure that is bigger than Cam Ward because Cam Ward is the biggest thing that they have, and he's a rookie with not a lot of game experience, and he's making too many rookie mistakes because he has no one in the coaching staff that is bigger than him. Mike Vrabel could tell and tells Drake May, you can tell that relationship. Mike Vrabel, I do this every week. I'm actually kind of tired of it. Go back and watch the locker room video of Mike Vrabel. I say this every Monday. You know why? Because that's something. The Titans have nothing. I don't want to hear a phenomenal press conference. I don't want to hear those. I want to see action. And that's what the Titans are missing. Can they go find it? I don't know. But damn, that's the sobering thing. They have no forward-facing figure, and then they say things and do something completely else. And the fans are sick and damn tired.
But that's and Amy is the reason why things that are being said are not the things that are being done, right? Because Amy tries that. We talked about this last week with Easton and JT of the after firing show. Is that Amy's trying to have her cake and eat it too. She wants to, quote unquote, let her football people do their jobs, but then she steps in and oversteps and overrides what their ideas and strategies are by pushing buttons at the top and firing people when she wants to fire people. And so if you're going to, and then not talk, right? So it's like, what do you want to do? Do you want to let people do their jobs, or do you want to make them fire people on a Monday because you're embarrassed in front of your friends and family in Vegas before you play Vrabel? Well, because who pushed back? Because who pushed back on Amy? Vrabel. Then he got fired, right? So that's what you're seeing there, is that if you get too big, then Amy doesn't like that either.
And they've got to find that happy medium. And I don't know what that is. I don't know if there is, but that is a fair point. I want to talk about this real quick before we go on to Cam. Raz says O-line is trash too. I think that's a big part. They invested 2 first-round picks and a ton of free agent cash and capital. They brought in Bill Callahan, Daddy Callahan, that was going to fix everything. The O-line is still just as bad as it was. I mean, the amount of money, draft picks, and coaches that were supposed to fix the biggest problem in the franchise has not been fixed. That, I think, also needs to be recognized, because as we all know, it starts up front. If you can't protect your quarterback on either side, or you can't get after the quarterback, you're going to lose in this league. It's guaranteed. So Raz brought that up. I think that was a point.
Yeah, J.C. Latham is struggling. The hip, I don't know. I mean, he's out there, but he does not look very good at all. So, all right. You want to go to Cam now?
Yeah, because I think that's kind of what you have. I think Cam's got issues too, right? It's not all, he's not just the savior child that can do. He's not the youngest, the baby that says, oh, no, he didn't mean to do that. There are some issues with Cam Ward. Now, how big they are, I think that's what we're going to get into.
All right, we'll get to the Cam Ward part of the conversation and revisit a topic from last week here. But first, I'm going to tell you guys about Window Nation, windownation.com. That's where you go get your free estimate. I did this experience, and it's been phenomenal so far. That has truly been phenomenal, because I had Window Nation come by for a free estimate. They did the presentation, and then we jumped on board. We got windows. We're getting new windows next month in November, and excited about what that's going to do for our home. Buy 2 windows. You get 2 windows for free. No payments necessary for at least 2 years. And there's a lot of other different ways you can finance these things, but you're literally going to save thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars by jumping on with this deal right now. It's the best deal that Window Nation has. They extended it through October. Buy 2 windows, get 2 windows free with no payments necessary until 2027. It'll up your home quality. It'll help you save money on your bills. My builder grade windows are a net negative right now when it comes to keeping the temperature we want it inside our house. Other ways of these windows are allowing other things to come in that we don't want in here. Window Nation has a amazing product and a great process and a great team in the Nashville area. So just get you started today by going to windownation.com.
A to Z Sports, we are powered by BTA Sports, better for bettors. Make sure you use the code ATOZ14. That's ATOZ14. When you download the BTA Sports app, you get 14-day free trial before the weekly subscription of $99. It's worth it. The sports books are trying to take your money. BTA Sports is really trying to help you win with statistics, analytics, data. That's data right there. You have to have that if you're going to combat these lines. You talk about that half a point of over under. I mean, the books are really, really good. So BTA Sports makes you be really, really good and win some money there. A to Z Sports, powered by BTA Sports.
All right, let's hear from Cam Ward in his day yesterday, as statistically, he had a pretty solid day if you just take out the fumble that turned into a touchdown for the Patriots. 70% completion, 255, a touchdown through the air, had a decent quarterback rating, but had 2 turnovers, a pick, and then the fumble that was returned for a touchdown. Here is the Titans' #1 overall pick.
I think just with the quick start is just us having urgency. That's how we need to start every game and maintain it throughout the whole game. And just the third quarter, really fumbling the football. I think that was what really set us back. If I don't do that, it's not the game doesn't get out of hand that fast. So just gotta continue to have ball security and get better.
Did it slip on that play?
You said what?
Did it just slip on that play, that fumble?
Yeah.
It's 2 weeks in a row. What's going on?
Got to hold on to it tighter. But really, just got to continue to emphasize it within myself. Got to be better at it. I know that's something that, I can't continue to let happen. I got to cut that out next week.
Do you feel like you guys lose urgency at any point? You say that the first quarter of the success is from the urgency.
No, we don't lose urgency. It's just we have to continue to stack plays. And there's just, whether it's a false start and even towards the end of half, I should have checked the ball down, ended up stopping the clock again. We had to just, waste the play on what we didn't have to. It's just all of us have to continue to do our job every play. And when we do that, we can be a good offense.
Was it not a good offense? They had a good first 4 drives, and then I found it interesting, Zach, before we get to our question about Cam in the bigger picture. It sounded like he kind of was taking the responsibility from his interim coach there at the end, right? About the end of half situation when Mike McCoy's up there talking about, the win this, the win that. We didn't want to, we try to make the right decision for the situation, and the win was, so we were just going to go to half. We didn't want anything to get worse. And then Cam says, no, I put the coaches in a bad situation by not taking the check down to not get some easy yards, to call a timeout, to go get something, to get some points. So what do you think about that? I thought that was an interesting difference of how both Mike McCoy and Cam Ward answered questions about the end of half wasting of 3 timeouts in 49 seconds.
I think it's an example of the coaches trying to help cover up what Cam Ward admitted that he did. The one thing about Cam Ward is we know, and there's so many great qualities about Cam Ward, and one of them is, I think, honesty. I think he does. Now, he has to correct the fumbles. The fumbles are becoming an issue. You cannot do that. You turn the football over in this league, you get beat. You will not win. You negatively affect your team. So hold on to the ball. If we got to Tim McGraw duct tape it, we may have to do that, but you got to hold on to the ball. I think the end of half thing, I think Cam was being honest. It makes sense. And I'd rather have your quarterback go up there and be honest. But my fear for Cam Ward is that all of the surrounding disaster, he's not helping to a degree. But you know who helps remind you to keep your footwork straight? Coaching. Coaches say that. He's falling back, throwing high. He could have stepped in and been confident in his throw. And we know he has his talent level is so high when he does all of the things that he needs to do. The off-script stuff, that's the beauty. That's why he was drafted #1 in the NFL, right? We know that. But the on-script things, can be helped by coaching. And he does not have that around him. He's going to have to maneuver this year. And, we're all going to have to, Titans fans are going to have to pray that they can get somebody in there that can actually hold Cam Ward accountable as a young NFL football player with his footwork, with a bad team around him. Yeah. You have to do that. I thought that he missed some, he played, I don't say he played well because they couldn't really do anything in the second half. You see the glimpses. That's where coaching comes in and mitigates some of those mistakes.
Sure. So he's had a fumble problem throughout his entire college career. He's been loose with the football. He's taken risks. He's had a lot of fumbles, not all of them lost, but a high rate of fumbles throughout his 5 years of playing college football. And that has translated to now. But the last 2 weeks of just having should eat that popcorn type of fumble of like, why is the ball just flying out of your hand? Now, I jokingly asked, on Twitter, did we overlook Cam's hand size at the combine? His hands are on the smaller side, but they're past the line of, okay, this can work, right? They're 9-inch hands, same size as Joe Burrow, same size as Jared Goff. So now hand strength doesn't mean you have, that's different than hand size. So does he need to have stronger hands? And is that something he can work on now throughout the season to make that smaller hand size better and okay? So, it's just, it's a frustrating thing.
Coaching tells you, right? That's like, there is that, and we're trying to find that happy medium of making sure you have control of the football when you are going off script.
Totally.
That's where these problems happen, when pressure's bearing down on you.
Sure. And coaching, it takes time, right? Like Mike McCoy was a part of the staff that was trying to get Tim Tebow to change his throwing motion. You can go through as many different drills and work outside of the facility, at home, in the facility, on the practice field, outside of the practice, like restraints, and work on something. But can you truly rewire your brain, like Will Levis was saying, and fix a natural like technique? Because Cam's natural technique is to throw sidearm, have different things. His footwork is always going to be a little bit erratic. So, and that takes more than just 7 games, more than 3 months of off season into your first couple months in the league to change something. And so that's why I said in the postgame show, ideally, Cam Ward gets the Patrick Mahomes rookie year. But Patrick Mahomes was picked 10th by a playoff team. Cam Ward's picked first by the worst team. So there is no way the Titans can sit him. So you've got to go through and get the live bullets flowing. And that's why I think the whole firing Callahan now is because you had to understand what you're getting yourself into by drafting Cam Ward, who is a multi-year developer, of a quarterback prospect. So it's just a complete mess all the way around.
So we'll give Mitch wrote a paragraph, and I think you put the time in. Let's read what he says. Mitch Odell says, Ward did well in quarter 1 because the offensive line protected him. The O-line started making stupid mistakes, got frustrated, then collapsed. So Ward was trying to compensate, and without a run game, he made a bunch of stupid mistakes, trying to make something out of nothing. Will Levis did the same thing last year. These problems are not going to be fixed until the offensive line is fixed and a run game is established. Trade Cushenberry to get his salary off the cap and start doing some major surgery on, I would assume, the offensive line. That's kind of why I brought it up a few minutes ago, is the offensive line is not helping Cam Ward. There's so many problems surrounding this offense, whether it's lack of weapons, whether it's incompetency in the coaching staff offensively, whether it is Cam Ward not going back to what he knows what to do, is be in the pocket. He can't be in the pocket. He'll get sacked in the pocket. He has to escape the pocket. When he escapes the pocket, he's got to hold on to the football. And then the offensive line has to mitigate penalties as well. This is, I think, the second most exhausting thing of the Tennessee Titans franchise is the offensive line. I think the most exhausting is the constant pinwheel change at the top. That is the number one exhausting thing of this franchise, is they never say what they mean and mean what they say, and they don't sit there and tell you the truth. They change on a dime. They, have those emotional tendencies to fire people because something's going wrong. There's no stability. But the second most exhausting thing is the offensive line. And it's not for lack of try. I mean, 2 first-round picks and 2 massive free agent contracts in Cushenberry and more. This is why can't they fix it?
Well, Jack, I think this is not an excuse. This is just an explanation of the situation. So, and I don't fully agree with everything that Jack says here, but it's a good overview. Jack says Dan Moore's a bad left tackle. I think he's an average left tackle. Skoronski's good. Cushenberry is not the same player after the injury. Zeitler is washed, and Latham is a right guard. But whether J.C. Latham is a guard or tackle, he's also coming off a hip injury. I think the problem with the O-line is that there's been revolving pieces the entire time because injuries have been plaguing this team. You've got ineffective players that have been benched and then reinserted in the lineup over the last couple of years. They can't figure out how to get any type of continuity. The only guy who's been consistent is Peter Skoronski. And even if you go back to his rookie year, how crazy is it that guy had a freaking appendectomy in week 2? So it's just like they have been hit by bad players, bad decisions made by general managers of the past, and then also just bad luck. Because like, who wins name another appendectomy in the middle of a season that you've heard in the NFL? And it happened to your 11th overall pick left guard after week 1, before week 2 of his NFL career. That threw off the entire rookie season. And then Scroncy's been on a better path, right? J.C.
Chris
Latham
Sims versus the Carolina Panthers back in the day.
Yeah, but that was a spleen, and that was a ruptured spleen because of a helmet right in his gut. This is just a weird appendectomy thing. And then you look at J.C. Latham, who was doing well, hurts his hip at the end of training camp, tries to play in Denver, didn't work. Now he's out for 4 games. He comes back and he looks terrible. And so it's just, and then Kevin Zeitler's 35 years old. That sometimes that happens, and Willie Christianberry is less than a year away from his Achilles rupture. So, just stuff is happening. And somebody says, I'm 100%, Jameson, 100% convinced they're cursed. It certainly feels that way because they just can't get anything to stay the same for long enough to build on it.
Well, we said the same thing when they had the injury year. You remember the 2 years of the historic injuries to the team, and they're still better than now. They had Derrick Henry. They're still better than they are now when they had historic injuries. J.C. Latham
didn't have Derrick Henry that year. He was a part of that. The broken foot.
Yeah, late in the season they had him for a period before he hurt his foot. But
first 8 games.
MB brings this up. He goes, the massive free agent contracts are a problem. The other teams are trash. Make a damn trade. I think the trade, this is the second half of this season, is going to be what the front office is going to do with the players they currently have, whether it's another reports of Jeffrey Simmons not being traded, Calvin Ridley, the other pieces that may be on the table, and how they go get draft capital. I think that's also important. And Curtis says, sounds like some of y'all thought that they'll have the Commanders glow up, and I don't know why. And Curtis, you're absolutely right. I don't know why either. They did not have the infrastructure. And I'm not even talking about the roster. I'm talking about they had no one that had known how to win. Dan Quinn and they didn't play. They played awful yesterday. And Mariota did not play very well either in relief duty. But they still have a core team that has a leader in their head coach. The Titans have none of that. And Mike McCoy can come play house for a number of weeks, but that's all he's doing.
That's what
he's leaving.
It sounds like it too. He sounds like a summer camp director out there. Like, hey,
well, that's why he got the interim job. He's going to say,
he's done it before.
He's going to toe the company line. He's probably not going to get another NFL head coaching experience. He's already kind of used that. And he's going to maintain. That's what I'm sure they had that conversation. All we're asking you to do, if we can go out and win games, let's go win games, obviously, and try your hardest. But don't say anything stupid. Now, he already kind of did that with a phenomenal comment. But just go out there and maintain. And that's a tough thing this early in the season.
All right, I'm going to ask you a question that we asked last Monday, Zach. It's about Cam Ward. Because I want to see if anything's changed in 1 week, because I know where I was at last week, and you kind of pushed back on my answer a little bit last week, which is fine. But the question again, how much are you questioning Cam Ward, part 2? How much are you questioning Cam Ward now this week? Because he's had 5 turnovers in the last 2 weeks, and the Titans have lost games that they did show a little bit of promise in. But how much are you questioning Cam Ward this week? But first, I'm going to tell you guys about our friends at Botero Carts. Life is short. Get yourself a golf cart, and you got 2 locations to do that in the Middle Tennessee area with a locally owned and operated company with Botero Carts. Gallatin, the OG location, and the new one that opened up last month in Columbia, Tennessee. They got you covered. 0% financing for 36 months. 3 years of 0% financing. That's a big deal for you guys to get started off with your new golf cart. And it starts at $6,800. They're open 7 days a week. They have a full service sales and rental dealership. They're locally owned and operated. As I mentioned, they have no dealer fees. So they're not trying to nickel and dime you or squeeze in all these odd fees. No credit card fees either, which is a big deal. That adds up pretty quickly. And their carts are stored indoors. So we had this bad weather overnight this past weekend. Then your future golf cart is great condition, clean, shiny, no damage from the wind, no damage from the rain or anything else, no damage from the sticky tree leaves that are falling now as we get deeper into the fall. So they're protected there. So check them out online, boterocarts.com.
A to Z Sports powered by BTA Sports, better for bettors. Make sure that you download that app. I have it. Austin has it. The whole crew has it. You should have it as well. You can use the promo code ATOZ14 when you download the BTA Sports app. You get a 14-day free trial. Try it out. Sportsbooks are trying to take your money. BTA Sports is helping you win money with data. Then you can sign up for a subscription and, try your hand at some sports betting props. You got 2 NFL games tonight, Bucks Lions, which should be pretty interesting. So go grab the data there at BTA Sports. That is who drives our morning show.
All right, so Zach, we asked this question last week. We'll ask it again just to kind of navigate the waters here. How much are you questioning Cam Ward this week? After I said last week my antennas are fully raised, I have my antennas up on Cam Ward if he's going to be able to work out and be the guy. So what are you seeing from the chat? And then would love to hear your answer this week too.
Yeah, Boondock Boys says Scam Ward is a bum. So that's
arrived. The scam scam Ward's here.
He's not ready to start. So that goes to your Patrick Mahomes point earlier in the show. That's just not how this works. Like Jackson Dart, he'll be brought up here in a second. Like they had Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston before Jackson Dart. Completely different situation. Not the number 1 overall pick. A coach that had been there for some years. So I maybe he wasn't ready to start, but that's not how this worked. He had to start. Not at all. That is answering the question. How much you question Cam Ward? Hello Lady says a lot. Vanessa says 0. Joe's saying should have traded back, maybe for the Dart situation. Rooney says not at all. Not doubting him at all. From Daniel, Cam is a rookie and had arguably his best game. More than I did last week when we asked that question, but still have hope from American Toff. Definitely not convinced Ward is the guy from Brian Callahan's burner account or whatever you want to call it. Every time he plays, he questions him 90%. Let's see. Amy has stained the Tennessee Titans as an organization from Cedric. Not much. Elk says, which is Big Ten Jeff, 100% I questioned him during the draft, said he has turnover issues. He definitely has had some turnover issues through the first several games of this season. Not at all. They're growing pains from Eric. Not at all. I only have questions from John Foster. Jamarcus Russell 2.0, which is wild. Chris says not at all. Coaching and roster is terrible. He's amazing from Charlie. I might be comparing him to Dart, though, and that's from a previous comment. 75% from Lane. Cam ain't the guy from Willy Wonka. This is where I'm going to interject. I think that it is crazy if you understand the situation of the Tennessee Titans to say Scam Ward, Cam Ward is a bust. He's not the guy. He'll never make it. I think that you're an idiot. I will say that. I think it is extremely way too early to say things of that nature. Can you question his decisions? Absolutely. Can you question him holding on to the ball? That has been the most infuriating part for me watching Cam Ward. Hold on to the mother effing football. Grip it tight. Okay? You can rip it. You might as well grip it. That you cannot do that. And he's done that in back-to-back games. That coaches have to get on his ass for doing that. You are directly hurting the team. That is 14 points in 2 weeks that he has given the opposing team. Now, I argued and will continue. You have to hold on to the ball. It was that he got hit, but that goes to coaching is when pressure arrives, what are you going to do with the football and not have it out there? So I think that is a massive problem. 2 things that I would point that Cam Ward has to improve: footwork and turnovers. Those 2 things. I think those are fixable because the turnovers are not bad decisions throwing just directly to the other team, right? They're not high overthrows right to safeties. It's not that.
Yeah,
They're
he's not
mental.
he's not getting fooled, right?
They're mental, and mental goes back to coaching. Coaches remind you what you need to do. Now, it's your responsibility in the heat of the moment to execute, but that's where I do think coaches say, make sure your footwork, you come back to the sidelines, you pull up your Microsoft Surface, and you sit there and point out and say, when you're off script, you probably can't say, what the hell are you doing? Because he has the arm talent to make some unbelievable throws. We've seen those. But when you're on script, you have to stay in there and do what you're coached. The problem is his coaches aren't very good. So I am not questioning Cam Ward. I have not wavered. My antennas aren't sky high. I understand the situation, but I am critical in certain aspects of Cam Ward's game, as mentioned.
Yeah. To me, like, my antennas are up. I'm not putting them back down until I see some consistency. Again, I'm not giving up on him. So I think,
You're
like
not
I said,
saying bust. I
no,
mean, people saying
no,
bust, get real.
way too
This
early.
is entirely too early to say that this guy is a bust, because he's not. And I want to say this real quick. He's not doing all of the dumb things Will Levis did. Will Levis didn't play well and had a bad team, but he was making the boneheaded mistakes. Charles Davis said this yesterday on the broadcast. There was a moment where Cam Ward could have done the Cam Ward shovel pass in distress, and he tucked it in. I thought that was a good analysis by Charles Davis to recognize that's a little bit of growth in a very young player that has not played a lot of NFL football.
I think the play was there, though.
I'm okay with him taking
No, I'm okay with him not taking it too, but I do think it was there on that particular situation. But no, I do like the growth overall. But to reiterate what I said last week, my antennas are up on Cam Ward. It's not that I'm out. I'm not calling him a bust, but I'm taking notes. I've taken notes on these traits that he has shown that are hurting his team as a rookie. Do those traits get fixed? Because sometimes I think his footwork and his arm angle are always going to be an issue throughout his career at times, because that's who he is. And you also draft him because he can make some of these ridiculous throws, because that's also who he is. So you have to outweigh that's who he is.
Take
That's
the good with
Cam
the
Ward,
bad,
the
and
good
the bad
stuff
with the good.
Yeah. And so, but it's like, what's the percentage split on the good and the bad? You've got to see less bad. And we've still seen a lot more bad too much right now. So I am still taking notes. My antennas are still up on Cam Ward. Now, I did favorite a comment because Clip HQ says it's way too early, and then followed up with give him 3 years. Now, here's the thing on this. 3 years is too long. You don't have to give him 3 years anymore. And not in the NFL. You don't have to.
You're
it
going
might
to
be
give him
smart.
2.5. You're going to give him.
I'm not,
well, you can give him 2.5. So he's going to have this year. He'll have next year with the new head coach, and then the third year, the pressure will be on by week 8.
Sure.
Four.
But my point is, you don't have to in today's NFL anymore. Like it used to be, you had to give the quarterback more. But you've seen so many teams that have been willing to bail on rookie quarterback that wasn't getting it done within year 3, because they had to go save their ass or do something else, right? So
but
again,
here's where I actually
you're not financially like tied to Cam Ward as heavily as teams used to feel.
I agree with Clip HQ, because you know what's not fair, and life's not fair, so get a helmet. The team is so bad that in 2.5 years, it's probably not going to be fair that they are going to surround him with the pieces that we can fully analyze what type of quarterback he is. He's going to have to play above his means despite the roster. Will the roster be better in 2 years? Hopefully. But Austin, they're so bad. I think the Jets, and I've watched every game of the Jets too. The Jets are atrocious. The Jets are frustrating. The difference between the winless Jets and the one-win Titans, the Titans are probably a worse football team because of their self-inflicted wounds and their ability to go quarters with doing nothing. Like the only thing they now have 2 games where last game, the Raiders game, they're playing for nothing for a good chunk of the second half. That doesn't count. Any of those yards are useless. Max Crosby's on the sideline taking a blow or just
Or Chris Jones. Was Chris Jones drinking vodka yesterday on the Chiefs sideline when they were blowing up the Raiders? Maybe.
Right?
I don't know. There's video of glass bottle.
So that kind of tells you where the Chiefs are, where the Raiders are, where the Titans are. But the same thing is that's the difference between the 2 worst teams is the Saints have Alvin Kamara. Like they have some players that can actually make some X plays. The Titans are dealing with a bunch of rookies and a bad offensive line.
Yeah, and so again, the Titans don't have to give Cam 3 years. They probably should, but they don't have to. It depends on how the next year and a half goes and where are you drafting and who's available to draft, right? Like you don't have to, but you could, right? So look, there's a lot of I think I've already got our show topic for tomorrow. We're running late on time this morning, but I think there's a lot of really good branch off tangent conversations that we can continue to have here. But let's go ahead and get to some super chats here on the show. You guys have thrown some super chats in there for us to read. We'll do that. But first, Zach, tell everybody about the Bone and Joint Institute.
Yeah, Bone and Joint Institute. Do not fumble on your recovery. The Bone and Joint Institute with the state-of-the-art facility down there in Franklin and satellite locations all across Middle Tennessee. Whenever you get hurt in life, you want somebody that you can trust. That is the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedics and sports medicine. That's boneandjointtn.org. They've helped so many people in Middle Tennessee, and they can help you. You all have that shoulder or that knee or the hip, if you're like J.C. Latham, or the ankle. Maybe it's a hamstring like Ridley and Simmons. We get those. Even not playing football, the older we get, you need a specialist and somebody you trust. That's the Bone and Joint Institute.
Yeah, my bad knees give me a hard time the last few weeks. All right, shout out to Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process. Go see them in Lebanon or online, wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Make them a part of your new car buying process. They'll help you save some money. Got some great rides out there. They'll help you with your current vehicle with the trade-in as well. Go see Pain Bone, wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Super chats to get to wrap up this Monday. We'll go in chronological order. Elks, which is Big Ten Jeff. I will take a formal apology from the Facebook chat for telling me I don't know what I'm talking about when I said Cam had turnover issues in college. Just the irony of Jeff asking for an apology from the Facebook chat while giving a YouTube super chat is funny to me. But
on his burner account.
On his burner account, that's not even his name. So yes, but I guess for a super chat, it gets seen by the Facebook crowd too. But yeah, Cam Ward had turnover issues. Like I said it back in the early draft process. And I just think you like the guy, you like the mindset and the raw talent of Cam Ward that made you think you could deal with it, right?
I'm going to say this, and this is going to be hard to hear. Who do the Titans play this week?
Oh, the Colts.
The Colts, they remind me a lot, and I say this just in comparison for the chat, remind me a lot of the electric 2020 Titans offense, where Jonathan Taylor's Derrick Henry, Danny Dimes is playing like Ryan Tannehill did that year, and they have their wide receiving core actually running on all cylinders. They score a lot of points, and they get up on you. They get a lead, and they don't stop. They also force turnovers. Buckner gets in the backfield. What's the line? Is it 14.5?
I have not. I whatever it is, you can take it.
I don't know if that was the wrong. Yeah, we need to check that.
I'll see if
I'd actually like to check that because
it might be too early. I don't know.
It may be too early, but it should be 14.5.
I mean, this week of NFL games isn't even over yet. So let's see if
that
we
would
get
be historic.
14.5.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, Caps
Justin
comes in. Titans should have probably taken that haul from the Giants. You know, a lot of people are bringing this up. Hindsight's 2020. I think it's a bigger conversation than what we have time for this morning, right? You know, I think we need more data of Cam Ward and Jackson Dart. Yeah, another non-Titans conversation. Is it more Jackson Dart or is it more Cam Scatterbo? I mean, I'm kind of half joking in that, but those guys complement each other in the way that they're helping each other out. Like Jackson Dart has an extra touchdown pass on his resume because Cam Scatterbo caught it on a screen and ran it in and made some nice plays, right? So, I mean, there's both.
But Jackson Dart's pocket awareness is very impressive in the NFL. It's a lot better than Cam Ward's. Coulda, shoulda, woulda, didn't. You can't. Hindsight's 2020. Cam Ward won the offseason. And the offseason heading into the draft is important. He won that with his skill set, with his resume, with the way he carries himself, with the interviews. So Cam Ward got the number 1 overall pick because of his actions leading up to Jackson Dart. Look, situation, right place, right time. Brian Dable's a very good offensive offensive coach. Whether he's a good head coach is in question. So it's all coming together, but it is probably disheartening for Titans fans to see 2 rookies just get after it in New York Giants uniforms while the Titans can't do anything.
Yeah. Jeff comes back, says, Austin, part of the issue is you said Callahan wouldn't be fired, then yelled at the chat for wanting Callahan fired. You made your bed, got to sleep in it. I mean, I'll just say, like, Callahan's firing has not affected my sleep any. So, like, I mean, I'm laying in the bed. That's fine. But it has not affected my sleep at all. But yeah, I mean, I was wrong. I mean, I said this over the last several weeks. And then yes, Callahan deserved to be fired. I still think Amy made her employees look bad by going against everything that they talked about publicly for 9 months and getting emotional and firing the head coach because she was embarrassed. I still feel the same way.
What did you think about the press conference after the firing? You know,
I think that, you know, Chad Brinker did his best job to just say words and take up time for the sake of having a press conference without saying anything. And I think Chad Brinker did not want to do that press conference that day. And Mike Borgonzi absolutely didn't either. Like, those guys did not wake up yet last Monday on the 13th of October and say, all right, today's the day. No, they walked into the office. They got a call from their owner and said, here's what we're doing today. I'm like, okay.
Who's in charge?
Amy.
Then Brinker.
Then Brinker. Yeah.
Then Borgonzi.
Then Borgonzi.
So you just hired Borgonzi, and all he does is, I think that's the structure, I think, is starting to wear on me.
Well, I think it's frustrating when things are bad, right?
Well,
no. I'm just like because the structure makes sense from a football distribution of responsibilities, right? Chad Brinker's doing a lot of big picture things, right? That needs a lot of attention. And Chad Brinker's doing like logistics of travel and all this stuff. So the GM and the head coach don't have to. So Borgonzi's doing all football personnel, all this kind of stuff, making decisions on players with the head coach. Brinker's doing all the tangential things, right? And so it all makes sense. It's just, it's bad. And now you've got 2 guys up there that have to answer questions about a decision that they didn't make. The same way that Brian Callahan had to answer questions about trading away Jarvis Brownlee when that was not his decision at all. That's the theme of the Titans. Other people answer questions for the people above them's decisions.
That's why it makes them hard to be believable.
It's Amy.
The number one
Amy.
thing, but the number one thing they have to work on is building back trust with their fans. And you can do that with winning football games, but you also can do that with surrounding maneuvers without winning football games. And they're doing both of them terribly bad. And that's why, you know, the worst fear for Amy, you know, how do you get a billionaire's attention?
I mean,
take money
Right.
away from him.
yeah. No, I was gonna say
And
cost them money.
in Amy's situation, you embarrass them, right? So Jerry Jones, hard to embarrass Jerry Jones. He's gonna just
He
do
does
what
that
he
for
wants.
himself anymore. Anyway,
He does like he doesn't. You talk about losing. He doesn't lose any sleep at night. He wants to win. He's not going to relinquish power. That's who he is. But he doesn't get embarrassed. He is the man of the Dallas Cowboys household. I think the struggle is you can't let emotions impede decision making. And there's been so many different turnover of decision making. The worst case scenario is they open this new Taj Mahal in downtown Nashville, and it's being overrun by the opposing fans in other colors. And Titans fans who may have bought the PSLs are just selling the tickets.
sure.
They go to the first game because it's an experience, and then it starts to go downhill.
Well, and it's a business investment for companies and all. Like, we know kind of what that is. So I just had something kind of hit me because people are saying the structure doesn't make sense. That you start to question the structure when the job description for the GM didn't sound like an assistant GM, not a GM. Like, I feel they have two presidents, right? I think if they didn't have a stadium project, then there would be no need for two presidents, because Steve Underwood used to be the president. But with Burt Nihill's full attention being on the stadium and things surrounding the stadium, he doesn't have time for Chad Brinker's responsibility. This is a brainstorming off the dome type of thing. But I think that they have so many things that are distracting them that they're not doing anything well.
Yeah, titles are titles, like, okay, you know, whatever the title is.
But
it's like Burke's responsibility is all the stuff that doesn't have to do with football, especially with 2025 in this era. You have to have marketing and different structure on that side of the company. So, like, that's warranted. That makes sense.
Sure.
Brinker is football, right? Brinker and Borgonzi are football. Those are the guys, though, that both sides matter, but Amy's making the public decisions that are impacting how fans feel about the team and the people running the football side.
Yes,
because
agree.
And if they continue to be bad as they've been for a longer period of time, I don't know if they'll be able to get it back. It's kind of like the Browns. They're treading in Browns territory.
Well,
which I will say this, and I'm going to say this early on. Kevin Stefanski, if he gets fired from Cleveland, I know they beat Miami pretty handily yesterday. That is a name that I think would make a lot of sense. This is very early, ifs and buts, beer and nuts. But I would like that hire because he has the seniority. He's won football games for bad organization. It didn't work out. And now he has a quarterback as an offensive mind. Right now, if I'm shooting blind, I'm not going the John Gruden route. I try to look at Kevin Stefanski if he is fired from Cleveland. I'm saying that on record now.
A lot more. We have topics on topics just in our back pocket about the coaching future from last week that we did not use. Super chats finishing up on these. Callahan built a bad offensive staff. All the coaches who deal with the QB are bad. Callie, Holtz, and Hardigree all down thumb. Petition Jay Palmer for Jesse Palmer. No, not Jesse Palmer. Jordan Palmer. Jesse Palmer probably wouldn't help. Jordan Palmer for quarterback coach.
Jesse Palmer he could bring a dozen roses.
Or just get more marketing deals. So look, I think if we just reverse all the way back to the hiring of Brian Callahan and the staff filling out, my biggest concern was a bunch of people doing a job for the first time. That was my number one issue across the board. It was Callahan, first-time head coach and first-time play caller. It was Denard Wilson, first-time defensive coordinator and defensive play caller, and Nick Holtz, first-time offensive coordinator. And Colt Anderson, first-time special teams coordinator. All those things were red flags to me. It's on the tape. It's out there on YouTube and Facebook for you to go see. I believe that, and two of those guys are now gone.
Well,
Nick Holtz
Mike
and Denard
Borgonzi,
Wilson,
first-time general manager. Mike Borgonzi, first-time general manager. Chad Brinker, this is the first time he's been in this position.
Sure,
calling the shots.
That happens all the time.
Right. But too much of that is tough.
Yes, it's across the board. Destin says, our coach looked lost yesterday versus Mike looking engaged with the whole game on the sideline. Every TV shot, our coach looked like he was asleep. I mean, I didn't pay much attention to that, to be honest, because I don't think Mike McCoy matters, to be fully honest. And then Ryan says, Austin, is it still anyone but Levis? Yeah. I'm still out on Will Levis. That shouldn't change.
Same.
Will Levis does not have it between the ears to process when things are sped up.
And you know what? You can credit Will Levis for, the injury. And, he took a flyer and said, I'm going to remove myself from this situation. Probably pretty smart for his career.
I still don't like
he's trying to extend it. I mean, pretty impressive. Marcus Mariota, how long his career has been. Watching him yesterday, you're reminded that he's in this league for a very, very long
time. But
time.
also the difference when Marcus Mariota got benched, he was on the sideline helping out that team and then came in when they needed him a few different times during that AFC Championship run, where Will Levis said, you know what? Screw you guys, I'm out.
Last thing before we get out of here, and this is kind of good that we didn't do this, is the question we were going to ask is, what is this the lowest in the Titans franchise? The great part is I think we still have some time to discuss that. I don't think that a lot is going to change. Maybe after next week, maybe next Monday, that will be warranted after the 14.5 point spread from the Colts. So we'll put that in our pocket and do that for another show.
All right, guys, that is it. Appreciate and enjoed all of the back and forth today. How exactly?
Hold on to the ball.
We measured our hands one time. I don't remember do you remember your hand size back in the day?
Well, this is Deflategate.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's you're not letting that one slide. All right. Thanks, guys, for watching. Make sure you hit that like button, like the show on Facebook and on YouTube, subscribe to our channel. There's a lot of great content coming. I guarantee that, with coaching search on the horizon, a lot of firings as well around college football to pay attention to too. But appreciate it as always. Talk to you tomorrow.
Adios.